what it does to relationships. And these are people who, if you bumped into them on Broad Avenue and said, hey, I saw your post, can you explain to me, eyeball to eyeball, what you meant by that? You would get an entirely different persona.
It's like road rage, right?
It's incredibly unbelievable to me. And I've seen it, I've witnessed it. I've witnessed people at the computer board going absolutely chaotic and insane with their responses. And then people have intercepted them. And they are an entirely different persona. Like, there's a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I've never understood what has happened to us. Social media is doing damage, no question. That's my sense.
Damaging the brain.
No disagreement. No disagreement. I've known people that when you're interacting with five, I see them on social media, and I don't even know who that person is. And I can't respond to them on social media because I'm not going to do that, because you know what I'd have to say to them? I'd have to become just as sane as they are, and I'm not going to do that. But you're right, you want to grab these people and you want to say, where can we meet to talk? Right. I mean, I have a feeling here that if the four of us sat around the table, we could solve most of the problems that people are having in state government. Just because we would talk, we would listen, and most of the problems we would be able to solve. They're not impossible problems.
Not impossible.
They're not impossible, no.
I just want, oh, you go.
Yeah.
I spoke.
So just briefly again, I agree with everything that has been said. Let's start with that. That people tend to be much more extreme on social media, even on emails. You get all kinds of weird emails, rather than people, talking and meeting together. So I think it's really interesting because when the internet started, everybody thought that it would get people together. So that's true, and it has a lot of good things. I mean, there are all kinds of groups. For example, people who graduated from the same school and now communicate much more easily. People in town. So as you all know, we have this chat forum or whatever, listserv. We can communicate with each other. Of course, some people abuse it, but we can communicate with each other. So it has done a lot of good. At the same time, what I think people haven't thought about, and I know I didn't think about it, is the fact that, if you're, have some weird and very abusive habit, you will find a group on the internet that will be supporting that. So I think, I agree that social media, there's the good and the bad, and we need to be able to perhaps teach it to the kids in a way that will show them how to navigate it, I think that's what we can do. It's not going to go away, so we might as well try to do it.
I think what you're saying is true, and what I spotted, I was around, as you were probably, when the internet first started. And I remember having one of the first computers when all of a sudden the physicists at these big spots, and you could listen into their conversations. And it was marvelous to see these brilliant minds communicating, and we were able, because of NASA. I don't think it took 2 years before all of a sudden those people started complaining about PhD students who didn't have had a degree in science fiction trying to solve the problem of nuclear physicists, where they said, get off the site, get off the site. If you don't know basic physics, don't come on the site. And then they shifted over to monitored sites. And so, like you said, they went to their own private sites where we were no longer given access to it. It was only small groups. And that left the wider internet, where all the craziness is for all the rest of us. The same people have all migrated into these private little groups, and they communicate with themselves. The wider which was available to us, this is where we see the craziness. And I don't know how we stop. I don't know how we stop that. I don't know how we stop that. The scientists have solved it by just having monitored groups that only by special invite can you get onto.
But they can control that.
They can control that. That's it. They can control it. We can't control what's happening out there.
Otherwise, they'll start calling you names.
That's right.
I'd like to just share a quick thought.
So my children are 14 and almost 12 now, and they don't have social media. My daughter has a phone that is made for kids where there's no apps or anything, which, much to her chagrin, I just won't allow it because I think it's corrosive. And the thing with social media, which I think has to be included in considering it, is the gatekeeping, the monitoring, the censorship. If we're talking about a free exchange of ideas, I believe in the free market in most things, right? So the free exchange of ideas is, if you out yourself as an ignorant, bigoted, obnoxious person, then sooner or later, people are gonna stop engaging with you. And that's the free market, you're self-isolating because you can't get along and play nice in the sandbox. But the other thing that's very interesting is, for all of the social engineering, I'll refer to it as that, when I witness some of my children's contemporaries and I hear all of the feedback, they seem to me, in my opinion, to have devolved in a values-based sort of way. Whereas the schools, the narrative of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and respecting all of everything. I hear these kids, and I've heard it myself, and it doesn't matter who they are, where they're from, or ethnicity, any of it. They use racial slurs more than I can recall ever hearing it when I was a kid. And I can remember being a kid at the park by the baseball diamond, right by the fire street, and we were all cursing. And that one day, my father happened to walk to the park, and I went beet red, like, oh man, I hope he didn't hear me. And so I get the natural thing. The kids are going to go out and try to establish their own identities and that kind of thing. But I got to tell you, it's really alarming. And I think that this social media and like you said, the listserv, they're very heavily moderated. Mm-hmm. And so it also becomes, I think, exclusionary for people to be engaged in the civics conversation, because if you have a differing opinion on certain things, you're throttled. You're not welcome. Your opinion is invalidated, and not even personally, but just the ideas. You just, after a while, that kind of stuff, whether it's social media for children or otherwise, you realize that there seems to be a predetermined, like you're getting sort of shuffled into, ideas and thought processes that are not open and exploratory. So I think it's very dangerous, and I don't mean dangerous like it should be, throttled more. I think it should be open and explored, but, caveat emptor.
So where are those people tonight in person? Where are they?
Well, kudos to everyone who
We're
did show
here.
up in person.
Where are they?
Well, you gotta start somewhere, right? So this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll hear about it and come next time.
Amen.
Maybe if people have any questions,
Well, we're gonna, now might be a good time for, Vito, you're gonna do a song, and we'll take a break, then a couple more questions?
Well, I wanted to make a comment first.
Okay, you wanna open up to a comment from Vito? Vito, you're invited to make a comment.
Well,
I thought it might be a question, but it's a comment.
it's not a question.